Hello, welcome everyone to this online information session about the Master Medical Informatics. My name is Floris Wiesman. I am the director of the Master Program Medical Informatics, and I'm also a course coordinator and teacher. And I am here together with Sophie van Dijken. She is a student and she will be helping with this presentation. The plan is as follows. I will start with explaining what the field of medical informatics is, and then I'll explain about our master program together with Sophie, and then I'll finish with explaining how you can get in our program, and especially about our pre-master program. But first, what is medical informatics? Let's have a look at two challenges in healthcare that we try to solve in medical informatics. And these are the challenges of the aging population in the European Union and information overload. And as you probably know, that we have an increasing number of elderly people in our society. And that means that the costs of healthcare are increasing rapidly. But it also means that there are fewer people working who can bring up all these extra costs. So currently, there are for every elderly person, 3 people working, but in 25 years, this will be decreased to 2 people working in 2050. So that really requires us to improve healthcare, to make it more flexible, to make it cheaper, to make better use of computers. And the second challenge is the challenge of information overload. Of course, you know that doctors need to have an incredible amount of medical knowledge. If you look, for instance, just at one part of medicine, internal medicine, then a doctor in internal medicine needs to know about 2 million facts. And this is not static knowledge, of course. The scientific knowledge grows. So for a doctor to keep up, he should be able to read maybe 20 articles a day, but that was 25 years ago. And this has increased because the number of the amount of medical literature increases rapidly over time. So the solution is we should bring only the information that a doctor needs at the time that it is required, so that the right information at the right time to the right person. And that's also a challenge that we are addressing. So what is then medical informatics? Medical informatics is, you could say, the happy marriage between healthcare, medicine, and computers. We're trying to solve challenges in healthcare by using information systems and our knowledge about information. We study how information is created, how it is stored, how it is managed, and how it can be processed. And to give you a few examples of things that we study, we try to improve processes in healthcare by formulating quality indicators. In that way, we can improve the quality of care, and we try to do it in such a way that healthcare providers can actually understand the information and act upon it. We try to provide clinical decision support, for instance, to give suggestions for a doctor for possible diagnosis at a particular patient. We try to process data and use artificial intelligence techniques to make forecasts, for instance, giving the patients that are on the intensive care units, how many patients will there be in a week's time. We, of course, in healthcare, in hospitals, we have these great imaging machines like MRI scanners, and the data that they produce, we need to visualize this information to make it processable by doctors. And how can we process these images in such a way that they can find what they're looking for? And then interoperability, an important problem. We have many systems in healthcare, and healthcare users need to read information in one system and then type it in another system. because these systems are often not interoperable, and we're trying to find ways to make them interoperable so that these systems can talk with each other and understand each other. And then finally, usability and user experience. If you have a well-designed information system, then the users can quickly find what they need. But if it is badly designed, it may lead to medical errors that could indeed lead to patients being harmed. So it's very important to take into account usability and user experience when designing software. And there are many, many more interesting topics that we address in medical arithmetic. So that should show you that it is quite a broad field. And medical arithmetics is important on many levels. So it is important on the level of the individual patients and healthcare workers, but also on the level of entire organizations in healthcare, for instance, hospitals or GPs, and even on a higher level, we're looking at the entire healthcare systems in a country. And when we look at these particular levels, we also need to address multiple layers. We have the lowest layer where we have the infrastructure, the cables, the networks, but also the software that is running on this infrastructure, the information that is processed by the software, the care processes that need that information. And to make this all possible, the policies of organizations and the laws in the country need to be may need adjustments to make these changes in processes possible. So that makes it a very challenging and interesting field. Now let's have a look at our master program, Medical Informatics. And this takes place at the Amsterdam UMC, which is the largest hospital in the Netherlands. And this hospital has two locations. And one location is called location AMC, and that is where we are now. And that is where our master takes place. So you will sometimes also read or see the name AMC instead of Amsterdam UMC. So we are linked to the University of Amsterdam, and the University of Amsterdam is a top 100 university in many rankings, for instance, at Times Higher Education ranking, the QS rankings, and the US News Best Global Universities ranking. So we are a very good university to study at. Let's have a look at our program, at our curriculum. This is a 2-year master. Let's have a look at the first semester. The first semester, we start with 4 courses that are in some way related to artificial intelligence. And then there is the Christmas break, and then we have a 4-week internship. So the width of each box of each course shows the duration of that course. So you can see that all the courses here are 4 weeks. But then we also have in parallel running, at the bottom you can see scientific analysis and reporting. So that is a course that runs in parallel with all the other courses and teaches you a particular academic skill, in this case, academic writing and presentations. So that's the first semester. The second semester has a similar structure where we again have 4 courses, and now not about AI, but about management in healthcare. And then again, an internship of 4 weeks, and also one longer course, an academic skills course that runs in parallel with all the other courses. In this one is called Management Communications. So this is not about scientific skills, but about skills that are important in business, for instance, reporting to a board or writing an advice. So that's the first year. Then with the second year comprises of elective courses, and I'll explain more about them later. And then you will do your scientific research project. So that's an individual research project where you will be working on your own research, writing a thesis about it, and finally presenting this thesis. For the elective courses, there are a few possibilities. We have the elective track AI for Health, the elective track Sustainable eHealth Solutions, or you can follow other courses at our university or another university. And I must say that if this only works when you start your master in September, if you start your master in February, then you cannot follow these two tracks and you will have to choose elective courses from other programs. So let's first have a look at the AI for Health track. And Sophie is actually doing this track. Sophie, can you explain about this track and about the courses?
Hi, everyone. I will introduce myself a little bit more later, but I'm just popping in to briefly talk about the AI for Health elective track, because that is what I am doing / finishing up right now as I transition to my thesis project. So this elective track is comprised of 4 courses. The first one is a self-study AI brush-up course. So since a lot of the students come from very diverse backgrounds and not necessarily all in machine learning. For example, myself, I do not come from a machine learning background. We have this course in order to make sure that we are somewhat caught up and we are prepared to take the following courses, which delve into advanced methods of AI in medicine. So then courses 2 and 3, they run in parallel at the first semester of the second year. AI for medical imaging, this is at the UFA Science Park campus, and this is a course from the AI Masters. So it is not just the medical informatics students, but it is us along with AI master students and some other students as well who are taking the course. And this really gets you hands-on experience with AI techniques for medical imaging. And it is comprised of several assignments and a project and an exam. In parallel, the MIC program offers the Medical AI course, which is actually in the AMC hospital just for the medical informatics students. And so this also delves into image processing with AI techniques, but also looks at language processing and different types of machine learning methods for the medical field. And so it gives you a little bit more of a well-rounded approach of machine learning methods in medicine. And this course is comprised of assignments in different fields, and it can range from using NLP in medicine to image processing to a poster presentation exercise. So a pretty well-rounded course. And then the 4th course I am taking right now, it is the Machine Learning and Reasoning for Health. This is actually at the VU, the Vrije Universiteit. And so this is in collaboration with students from the VU. And this course is kind of about zooming out a little bit with the machine learning methods. And what I think is really interesting is really taking medical processes that are taught to doctors. So for example, one thing that we are doing right now is how do we inject domain knowledge into our machine learning? How do we make it more than it's just learning from these ambiguous, how do you say, unpersonal data points, and how do we inject knowledge to make the performance better? And so you also get some techniques on ontologies and domain knowledge, and how can you collaborate with that and AI machine learning methods to create the best possible output.
Okay, thanks. That's our first track, and then the second elective track is Sustainable eHealth Solutions. So these are 3 courses about eHealth, and we look at eHealth from 2 viewpoints. We look at usability or user experience research, where we can really study how users use software. For instance, we have eye tracking hardware where we can measure at what point our users are looking on the screen, and that way we can study whether they just missed some information on the screen or they were misguided about this information. And in that way we can design better user interfaces. But we also look at the sustainability issues in healthcare, as healthcare is an important creator of carbon dioxide. it is important to try to reduce this footstep. And we also look then in healthcare how we can make these changes, how we can bring these changes about and change processes to make to have a better sustainable healthcare organization. So these are 3 courses that we have, and we will be using our lab, our usability lab, where we can really put users behind computers and make all these measurements to see how they are using the software. And then the final part, of course, is then the scientific research project, or we abbreviate it to SRP. And to give you an idea, I have here a few examples of SRPs that have been done in the past. So the first one is from Niduya, and this is about medical imaging, but also about explainable AI. So it's really important when you have AI that tries to help you in your work, that it can explain how it came to its solutions, so that the doctor can better decide whether to follow the advice or not follow the advice. So that's explainable AI, and this was research. This student did her research at the University of London. Then another SRP was done by Yuri, and he did his work at a company. So that's also possible to do your work there, as long as it has a scientific background. You can do also your work at a company. And he looked at factors that help mobile apps, to keep their users, to make sure that users do not run away, but that they will keep on using their health apps. And finally, an SRP by Nona, and she did her SRP at one of our departments in the hospital, of course, the anesthesiology department. And she looked at the use of surgical instruments, and she tried to change the process in such a way that it could, that there would be more reuse of the instruments. So as you can see, all very important SRPs, important projects, and often these SRPs really result in improving healthcare in our hospital or somewhere else. So what happens then when you finish our master program? What happens? How is life after our master? Well, all our students find a job very quickly. If you look at these data, these have been collected over the last 6 years. Every 6 years, we ask our alumni several questions about their life after medical informatics. So this is based on these data. And our students have to search a very brief time or not at all for a job. If we ask them, what are you doing? Then most of them are employed at some organization. And a small part has their own company, or are student or trainee, or a very, very small part is unemployed. And where do they work? Well, the majority works in healthcare related IT. Some work in IT, but not related to healthcare. Some work in healthcare, but not in IT. But most of them in healthcare related to IT. And of course, that's what we're aiming for. And as you can see, about a quarter works at the hospital and 3/4 works at a company or another healthcare organization. And there are many roles that our alumni take. These are a few, but it's a very long list of different roles. We often see consultants. Well, these are then probably working at the company, and then they are deployed at different hospitals, for instance. But we also see software developers and researchers, company owners, some assistant professors, information analysts, but a long, long list of other roles. Okay, let's go back to Sophie. Should I give you this one?
All right, so hello everyone. So just to introduce myself a little bit, my name is Sophie. My surname is very Dutch, but I am actually from Caracas, Venezuela, and I grew up for the most part in Houston, Texas. So I am an international student, and my bachelor's is from a non-medical IT background. So there is a medical informatics bachelor's where we have some of our master's students from, but there are a large amount of students from various backgrounds. We have students who are actually doctors in their home countries. We have students who are from computer science. So that is something that I found really interesting about my cohort and presumably about other cohorts. So I did my bachelor's degrees. I did two. I did one in neuroscience and the other one in French at the University of Texas at Austin. And in the US, I was on the pre-medical track. So I was involved in clinical practice, shadowing experience, but I became interested in the technological side of medicine because, as Flores mentioned, we are moving towards a time where healthcare is more and more under strain and more under demand. And one of the solutions we can apply is taking advantage of technological innovation and applying them to create smart and innovative health solutions. So I applied for the master's program back in 2024, end of 2023. And since I am not coming from a medical IT background, I had to complete the pre-master, which I did over the course of the summer. And something I do like about the pre-master is that they do allow you to apply for exemptions. So for instance, a lot of the medical domains that are required in the pre-master, I was able to get exempt from. And primarily my pre-master experience focused on remedial courses on the IT aspects that I did not get during my bachelor experience. So if you are not coming from a medical IT background, you can take this option, but the course program directors and the onboarding people, they will work with you to see, okay, what experience do you have that can be translated so you don't have to repeat. So thankfully, I finished that on time and I was able to start last year in the fall. And so I am now in my second year, finishing up the first semester and transitioning into my scientific research project. And as you saw, I am doing the AI for Health track because I am interested in technological innovation applications for medicine. So I already kind of briefly explained why medical informatics at the UFA. Like Flora said, this is a top-rated university, and I feel that I can really see that in the way that the program is run. They're very interested in staying up to date. So the first course, Current Issues in Medical Informatics, that was actually a new course that they launched in my year, and this was in response to changing trends in medicine. And so the program directors and the faculty are really wanting to stay on topic in such a dynamic field. So, and also I really like Amsterdam. It is a large multicultural city. As an international student, I feel that it wasn't such a difficult transition for me. There are a good amount of other international students in the program. There are a lot of Dutch students, so I was able to feel at home in both ways. So I just briefly want to talk. So Flores gave the overview of all of the courses. And my personal favorite course, I have a couple of favorite ones, but I would say one that I want to talk about is the AI for medical imaging course, because that is really what I'm interested in. And that's actually what got me into medical informatics, was medical imaging. So this was really a deep dive into medical imaging, the history of it, the science of it, and then what we are doing with it now. And so it is a difficult course. You know, it's got projects, it's got the exam, it's got assignments, but it really gives you a taste of what it is to work with medical images, and you get to work with actual models and actual images. So I found that really, really cool. And I do like that I got to collaborate with students from the AI masters who could kind of fill in the knowledge gaps, because while I have been learning and trying to teach myself machine learning methods, and this program has helped, it was nice to collaborate with real computer science experts. And so I thought that was really, really nice about that course. But if you have questions about other courses, you are also welcome to ask in the chat, and I can talk about that as well. So these are the overview of, this is the overview of the first year of the courses. So, and I put in some of the highlights from each of the courses. So for the first course, we had this AI tutor project where we were working with large language models and tailoring them for educational purposes. And that actually became my job, is researching the applications of generative AI in education and how to use it responsibly, effectively, and ethically. And I thought that was a really nice way to start because it did kind of give us the foundation to work with generative AI because it can help you learn, but it can also take away from your learning. And so they spend a little bit of time teaching on that. And I thought that was really interesting. So Mom 2 and Mom 3, these are the data analysis courses. So they are in R. And so naturally fundamental and advanced, it kind of gives you an idea. So Mom 2, you're getting introduced into fields of biostatistics. Mom 3, you go into a deeper dive, specifically with focus on Bayesian statistics. Mom 4 is the data-driven decision-making in healthcare. So this is a project-based course, and my particular project was reasoning with health data and essentially also working with interoperability, which is one of the things that Flores mentioned as a need in medical informatics and as a topic of importance, and making sure that we are constantly producing more and more data in this world, but it's of no use if it cannot be shared in a quick, efficient manner and you know what the data means. So I got a hands-on project in the verification of data, basically making it interoperable and knowing what the data is with ontologies and all of these things. So academic skills, this is the first course that runs in parallel with all of the other courses. And this is primarily, or it is about scientific writing, how to write scientific reports, such as to get published in journal articles, how to do presentations, how to give poster sessions. So all of these academic skills that I have come across in my time as a bachelor student, but nothing I actually gave particular focus on. It was just something I kind of learned along the way, but I found this to be nice to really give a concentrated effort on these more broad skills. And then Mom 5, this is the course that Flores teaches and is still teaching. And it is on biomedical information systems engineering. So this dives into the nitty-gritty of information systems architecture and how it works in hospitals. And this is also a project-based course. So I did my project on serverless cloud computing using Microsoft Azure. And once again, I thought this was really interesting because it is practical experience. And so an overall strength I would say of this master's course, if this appeals to you, is that it is much more projects and collaboration based than exams. So I think Mom 5 is the first time that I had an exam, and there's only a handful of exams in the first year, maybe 2, I think, or 3, depending on which track you do. But really the focus of this master's course or this master's program is on projects, getting hands-on experience. And also something I like is that my cohort was relatively small. It's around 30 students, and the cohort of the year under me is around 40, 50 students. And so compared to other master's program, which have over 100 students, maybe several hundred, you really get to know your peers and collaborate with them. And since we all come from very multidisciplinary backgrounds, I found that to also really be a strength in terms of collaboration. And something I don't have written down here is my experience in the second year. So I briefly talked about the course that I took at the UFA Science Park at the AI Masters, the AI for medical imaging. And the medical AI, something I liked about that was that it had professors. It was split up into 2-week modules with different domains of medical AI, and it brought from professors from various different departments. It brought guest lecturers, and that is also another recurring theme throughout the masters, as there are a lot of guest lecturers. Something that I find very interesting is that this is in the hospital, this is in the Faculty of Medicine, so we do actually get a lot of collaboration with medical staff and medical faculty, and making sure that us as students, we are equipped to bridge the gap between IT and medicine, which seems to be a bit of a problem these days, where IT people don't know about medicine, medicine people don't know about IT, and then this leads to unrealistic expectations or failures where there could be success if there was more understanding. So it is nice that we really interact with the medical side by being here physically in the hospital. All right. So then I'm actually going to skip this and talk about my scientific research project. The previous slide was about my mini internship, but I think this is probably a little bit more interesting. So I am just now beginning my scientific research project. In our program, it starts in November. So it starts a little bit earlier than other master's programs that typically start in January. So something to keep in mind because summer passes by very quickly. And there are kind of several options. So medical informatics is a very multidisciplinary field. So you can really find something that speaks to you and your interests. I have friends working at companies doing virtual reality. I have a friend doing logistics. I have a friend doing sustainability. So you can really find what's interesting to you, and the professors here will collaborate with you on making sure that it is aligned with the master's, but still at the same time allow you flexibility. There are internal and external projects. So for instance, my project is an external project, but there are also SRP projects offered by the medical informatics department that you can choose from as well. So my project is at the UMC in Utrecht in the Department of Neonatology. So that is babies that are just born. And the focus of my research project is improving and validating a multimodal prediction model for cognitive and motor outcomes of extreme preterm babies. That's kind of a mouthful, so I can kind of break it down a little bit for you. So a multimodal prediction model is a kind of machine learning method that integrates different modalities of data. And that is something that is becoming really important in healthcare because MRIs alone can't tell you as much as MRIs plus EEG plus clinical data. So what we want to do is try to automate this process, which doctors typically do themselves by looking at different sources of evidence and information. We want to see if we're able to combine these sources of information in a prediction model. So I'm working with 4 different types of data. It's kind of a lot. It's MRI, EEG, clinical data such as lab results, weight, etc., and neuromotor cognitive tests. So it is a longitudinal study that is following these extreme preterm babies, so babies that are born really, really early, and seeing what are their outcomes. And the scientific interest behind this project is that if you're interested, that extreme preterm babies are really susceptible to brain injuries. So here I have included an MRI scan of an extreme preterm baby. And I don't know if you're able to see, but there are some white lesions which indicate brain injuries. And this is because extreme preterm babies are more, their brains are not fully developed. And babies as young as 28, 30 weeks can have strokes and hemorrhages. And so this obviously affects their outcomes in life. So predicting this as soon as possible hopefully can lead to more informed treatment options, therapies, and better outcomes. That's about my project, but I have an external supervisor who is in the Department of Neonatology, but I also have, they also offer you an internal supervisor in the medical informatics department because, for instance, my external supervisor is a medical doctor who does not have much experience with machine learning methods. So thankfully, I'm able to have someone in the medical informatics department to balance out that knowledge. If you have questions about this, I'm also happy to answer.
Okay, so I hope that you're still interested in our program. And of course, then in that case, the next question is, how can you get in? Well, the admissions requirements are as follows. You need to have a bachelor medische informatiekunde. Probably if you're watching this, then you do not have such a bachelor. And then the alternative possibility is to have a relevant education or background and a good motivation. And then you can follow our pre-master program. And once you have followed and completed this pre-master program, then you can enter our master. And what then is a relevant education and background? If there is some overlap with our program, in the sense that you may have done something related to computer science or information science, or maybe a more medical background, in that case, you qualify. And if you are a non-Dutch, non-native English speaker, then you also need to pass the English proficiency test. Once you enter the pre-master medical informatics, then you start studying a lot of topics. We have 15 topics, and the whole program comprises 30 ECTS. So that's 6 months of study. And when you have completed it, then you will get a certificate that gives you admission to our master program. So there are 15 topics, and that means also 50 exams. That's quite a lot, 50 exams in 6 months. But depending on your background, you can get exemptions. And Sophie already mentioned that she got some exemptions for the medical part, I guess. And others may get other exemptions. So it might be possible that someone would not get any exemptions, but then it really is a very tough program to complete, but it is possible. So do not underestimate this pre-master program. What will you get? You will get contact hours 1 or 2 days per week. So most of the time we have 1 day per week for lectures or work groups, and 1 day per week we reserve for exams. But sometimes we have some contact hours on other days than there are Wednesdays. And you will get e-learnings and literature and video lectures and admission to our digital library. It is important that you look at the tuition fee. So if you are a non-EEU student, EEA student, look at the tuition fee for the master. For the pre-master, it's a very reasonable amount of money, but the tuition fee for the master, you should really have a look at because it's quite a lot of money. If you want to register, then please look at these dates. The master, if you want to start the master in February 27, that means that you have to start the pre-master in September 26, and then you have to register by 15 May 26 if you are an EEA student, and if you are a non-EEA student by March 1, 26. And if you want to start a master in September 27, then you need to start a pre-master in February 27, and you need to register by October 1 or August 1, 26. This suggests that you can start twice a year, and of course that's true with the master, but we really recommend that you start the master in September. It is possible to do it in February, but things are more difficult to organize, and you won't be able to follow our elective tracks if you start in February. So highly recommended to start in September with the master. A little bit about the contents of the pre-master. We have 15 topics, as I mentioned, and they are more or less in 3 domains. We have the domain of, let's say, the more computer science-like topics, such as mathematics and logic, artificial intelligence, computer science, databases, programming in Python and R, and biostatistics. Then we have the more medical topics. These are basics of medicine, medical process, and medical decision-making, and the organization of healthcare. So these are all topics that you, depending on your background, you could have an exemption for. And then the last groups are really medical informatics topics for which very seldom students get an exemption for. And these are things like health data recording and reuse, medical images, strategic information management, e-health, UX, and academic skills. You may think academic skills, that's quite general, but these academic skills are really tailored for medical informatics. So that's why they are in this group. In summary, our medical informatics master provides you a study in the largest hospital in the Netherlands. So we are really part of it. We have exciting electives on AI and sustainability and usability, and we have a strong focus on the practical and on the research part. If you want to know more, and we will put this information in the chats, you can email to the pre-master email address for more information about the pre-master and the master. Have a look at the website of our university. You may look at the course catalog to see descriptions of individual courses. If you want to see real examples of SRP thesis, then you can find them at the link at the bottom. And if you want to calculate your tuition fee for the pre-master or the master, then you can follow the last link. Okay, that's our presentation. I can imagine that there are some questions for us.
You asked how much of the curriculum is focused on health informatics across the EU. Not sure if everybody. Okay. Isaac asked us how much of the curriculum is focused on health informatics across the EU.
Can you try to answer that?
Yeah. I am forgetting which exact course it was, but we do learn about EU-wide initiatives, especially when it comes to interoperability. I think it was in your course. Yes, the European Health Data Space.
Perfect.
And so in his course, in Floris's course, this is the Biomedical Information Systems Engineering course. We take a global view, but we are also interested in collaboration in the EU, and there are a lot of EU initiatives about interoperability and making sure that we are working towards collaboration. And so that was actually part of the course there. I would say that's quite a strong focus of the course. And other places, sustainability. We have a course on sustainability of healthcare. It talks about EU regulations on sustainability and how the EU as a whole can work towards sustainable healthcare. So I would say this is an undercurrent theme throughout the applicable courses. Like for instance, data analysis, it's not really applicable, but where it is, I do think the professors give attention to it.
And does the study focus a lot on programming? Because I'm not that good with it.
In some courses, programming is important. In other courses, not at all. And I think also it depends on the elective tracks that you choose. If you go for the AI track, a lot of programming.
Yes.
No programming for the eHealth track. But would you say that you are a strong programmer?
When I went into the master's, I had actually never really, I basically had zero experience with Python. I had some experience in biostatistics, so I was actually a very, very poor programmer. And I am quite impressed at how much I am able to do now. So I think it helps. The pre-master helped me with that. You're probably going to have to work a little bit harder. I had to work harder in some parts, like with Floris's course again, there was a hands-on project where I had to use Microsoft Azure and implement it in Python. And I think for me, it might have been a little bit more difficult than my colleague who is a computer scientist, but it's entirely manageable. And since these are project-based courses, you are usually working with fellow students. And like I said, everyone comes from a different background. So that helped me a lot. I was actually able to learn from my fellow students. And same thing for the courses I just finished at Science Park. Very, very, very programming heavy, a little bit outside of my capacity, I felt like, but I was collaborating with AI students, and so they helped me, and I feel like I've made much more progress than I thought I would.
And which programming languages are used?
Python mostly, R. And in projects, often you can choose, right? Mm-hmm. You could do it in PHP if you want to. I'm not looking forward to it, but it could be. Yep.
Does the program examine any of the following electronic health patient records? The EHDS regulation, near-term future of healthcare digitalization?
Yeah, EHDS is indeed a part of my course, and it is really developing law. So I will be changing my lecture on this topic again this year. Yes, to keep up with the developments. Yep.
There are a few questions about the pre-masters. Is it possible to start the pre-master in September 2026 and do the masters in 2027 September?
Yes, that's possible.
What do you think is in the future of medical informatics, both short-term and long-term?
Medical informatics as a field? Well, as in any field, developments in AI, of course, are really important, and everyone is struggling with it, but also looking forward at the incredible number of possibilities, large language models, but also other developments in AI with deep learning. I think that's very important, but also more collaboration, exchange of information across borders. Very important topic that we will be seeing that develop in the coming years. I think these are a few of the highlights.
I would say something that's probably relevant or interested in this program is that it is integrating technology. And the more that you talk to doctors, the more that I hear that technology is becoming increasingly a part of their everyday practice.
Do we have more questions?
Again, it was mentioned that the pre-masters has been completed in the summer. Is this not a possibility anymore? Or was this due to being able to get the course exemptions for the pre-masters?
Did you say that you completed it in the summer? Ah, okay. I think you were in the old program where we used to have a completely self-study pre-master program where you could stop and start at any moment. We have changed that now. Now you really have 6 months where you only can start in September and February. So that's the explanation. I should also add that we are still making changes to this pre-master program. So all the topics that I mentioned, these topics will still be there, but they may not be divided into 15 topics with 15 exams. We're looking at clustering some of them. So maybe we will have fewer of these topics when you start in September.
There also are a few questions about starting in February and not being able to do the AI for Health track. Is that right? Or is there any other possibility?
That's right. So you can only follow these tracks in September, October, November. That's when these courses are taught. So that means that you can only follow them in these months. And that fits only in your program when you start in September, unless you start in February and then you wait 6 months somewhere in between before continuing with the second year. That would also be a possibility, of course.
And which books or papers from introductory courses are studied and give a good idea of what this master is about and what is expected from the students?
Ooh. You have many books. I think most are articles, right?
Yeah, I would say it's mostly articles or provided chapters of books. I don't think, I could be mistaken, but off the top of my head, I don't think there was, I think for the Eric's course,
Yeah.
there was, what's the name of that course again?
Yeah, the Strategic Information Management,
Yes,
the book by Haux, I think. Haux and Winter,
yes.
but I forgot the title.
Me too, unfortunately. But that's just to say, most of the time it is just on scientific literature, articles, textbook extracts. Off the top of my head, I think there's maybe one course where we had a dedicated textbook. There might be more. I don't know.
Is it manageable to work part-time next to your studies for the average student?
I do that.
But I should add, it is a full-time program. Of course, you can work, but then you need to study, I don't know, in the weekends or in the evening.
There also are a few questions about starting the pre-masters. No, this is not the right question. There's a few questions about starting the master in September 2026. Is that still possible because of the pre-masters you still have to do?
No. Let me go back to the slide before I say something wrong. Starting the master in 26? No.
And is it possible to fast track the pre-master from 6 months to 4 months if someone has experiences in bioinformatics and machine learning?
Quite
specific.
But then you can maybe study faster, but the exam dates are fixed, so you cannot change any of them. And no, you cannot start then earlier with the master. But if you have a lot of experience, and of course the study load will be lighter.
When does one get to choose a major? During our pre-master or during the master program?
You don't make any choices during the pre-master. In the master, you make your choice for the elective tracks. Bit difficult when you want to do the AI for health track. You need to decide that about 10 months before. If you make another choice, you can do that later.
And about the students itself, how many students are taken in every year, and what's the rate between male and female?
So my cohort was a bit smaller, and I think the cohorts are getting larger.
They are growing, yes. We have a lot of success, so we are growing steadily.
And the balance between male and female, I think, is honestly very equal. I think maybe almost exactly equal, give or take, something like that. But definitely I'm not the only girl in the course, for example, which is nice. And also, like I mentioned, there is also a pretty balanced mix of international and Dutch. I think maybe a little bit more Dutch, but I would say in both regards, a pretty good mix.
Looks like international is growing, the number of students. Yeah. And about staff?
In regards to male, female, international, there's both. I mean, I would say there are international professors as well from various different disciplines, which I think is cool. But I think due to Dutch regulations, it's more difficult to get international professors.
Yeah, well, I mean, these are, I mean, professors who do not have Dutch as a first language, but yeah.
And is there any specific type of student you're looking for, or for who is this master very interesting?
That's a good question. That's a good question. What is the type of student we are looking for? Well, enthusiastic students, curious students. I think students who take initiative, right? If you just want to just listen to lectures and that's it, and then after 8 weeks do an exam, that's not how the program is organized. So you won't be very happy then. If you want to take initiative and choose interesting projects, then you can make the most of it. And I think also you mentioned a lot of group work. So that means you need to be willing to work in groups. If you are a total loner, then it will be difficult.
And also, I think very, very important is you have to be interested in multidisciplinary studies because we have a mix of sustainability, healthcare management strategy, and then the nitty-gritty of data science. We have all of this in just 1 year. And so if you are only interested in doing IT, programming, data science courses, and you don't want to take any management courses or any courses about that kind of stuff, healthcare policy, management, logistics, then I wouldn't say this is for you. This is a very multidisciplinary study.
Yep. Excellent.
The question about the courses, is MOM02 the same as bioinformatics?
No. MOM02 is the fundamentals of data science. No. Bioinformatics in general is more about understanding and processing DNA data and working on that. And that's not at all, or a little bit, no, not at all in our program. Or have you encountered it?
Not that. I think maybe the word you were looking for, or maybe this is a suggestion I have, is that course kind of reminded me of biostatistics. And now biostatistics that is working, for example, with patients who have this disease, what can we predict their chances of survival? And so it is statistics in a medical context. If you've taken biostatistics, which I did in my undergraduate, somewhat similar.
And there's also a few questions about being employed after the studies, about people that do not speak any Dutch.
And what is the question?
Well, will you get employed if you do not speak any Dutch? Are there any jobs for non-native?
It depends on the job you're looking for. So I mentioned wait it. And what was my number one job? Consultant. Yes, consultant will be very difficult if you don't. At least if you want to do it in the Netherlands, then you really need to speak good Dutch. Other jobs, for instance, data analysis, data scientist, no problem at all. So it really depends on what you're looking for. Is that also your experience, what you heard from?
Yes, it does depend. I would say I think medical informatics is a little distinct from regular informatics, IT data science, in that if you're planning on working in the Netherlands, the hospital data is in Dutch. The doctors work in Dutch, they write their clinical notes in Dutch. Not saying it's impossible, but personally, I have been really making an effort to learn Dutch because if you are interested in working in a hospital environment, I would say that is quite important. It is obviously very, very possible. A lot of my colleagues don't speak Dutch. My Dutch is not that great, but there are some companies like Chipsoft, for instance, they only hire Dutch speakers, but then there's companies like Sectra, which are international, they hire international. So I would say a little bit more emphasis on Dutch due to the health hospital aspect, but everyone makes it work, I think.
Could you say anything about the master's degree compared to the bachelor's degree in difficulty and the amount of time it takes?
In difficulty, I think it's I would say it's more difficult, but maybe it's not. It's really different. It's more on a higher level. I think that's also in general. The master has a higher abstraction level and also relies more on the self-study capabilities of students and of students taking more initiative. I think these are the most important differences. I'm not sure whether this question is really about comparison with our bachelor program. But then still, I think the answer is correct.
And is it possible to do the pre-masters during your bachelor as some sort of a minor?
No. Let me think what the rule was again. When you start the pre-master, you must have finished your bachelor program. So it doesn't need to be finished when you enroll for the pre-master, but when you start the pre-master, then your program must be completed. And of course, when you want to start with your master, your pre-master must be completed. It looks like
I think we're headed to one of the last few questions. How spread out are the exams during the pre-master? Do you have them all at once, or is the semester divided into quarters?
They are spread out more or less through the semester. Sometimes you have two exams on one day because we wouldn't like you to travel a lot for an exam of maybe 1 hour, half an hour, and then we combine it in two exams on one day. But mostly it's spread out.
I think we'll just finish the session.
Okay, guys, thank you for your attention. Thank you for your questions. And we wish you good luck in deciding on how to continue with your studies. And of course, we hope that you will choose our program if that's a good fit for you. Thank you and goodbye.